Hello, hello. I had the most odd thing just happen. So, what my video previously was flagged for having inappropriate or third-party content, which if you can hear anything at all, the only thing I have going in the background is a lawnmower. But anyhow, in the first video, I had just gotten my eyes done, and I'll review the brushes that I used in that video really quickly in case I can't get that one reapproved and posted. So the brushes I used were the Koyudo BPO39, the Koyudo Psycho Ho eye brush with cherry birch handle. This is the small size. Koyudo cherry birch Psycho Ho eye brush in medium, small, medium. And then the cherry birch Psycho Ho eye brush in large. And I'll review these eye brushes later at the end of the video after I'm done with my face because I've already talked about them in the previous video. And then here's the Surratt medium or Moyen classic eye brush. This is Canadian squirrel hair. Whoops. This is the Surratt large artistic eye brush. This is gray squirrel. And I forgot to mention, this is tamage, which is apparently a type of cat. But it's very soft, like gray squirrel with more spring back to it. And then Psycho Ho, of course, is goat. But I've already covered that in the video where I did my eyes already. So I'm not going to spend too much time on it. Instead, I'm going to go to the face brushes. Just to recap, this is the Bisyodo BFD01. This is the Hakuhodo J4001 round dual fiber powder brush. This is the Stillazzi Contour L308. This is the Hakuhodo J110. This is the Nars small face brightener. And this is the Koyudo BP002. So I had just done my eyes, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a cotton pad and then clean up a bit, take out all the fall off, and then I'm going to go in with my foundation. I already do have skincare on. That was done prior to the start of the eye video. I hope I can get that back up. I have no idea why it was flagged as inappropriate and not allowed to be posted. So even though it looked pretty clean, that's all the gunk under there. Okay, over. That blue stuff would have looked lovely dragged all over with the foundation. Okay, now that that's cleaned up, or not. Ooh, yeah, there's a lot on my nose too, surprisingly. Probably because when I'm blending, I'm sending powder all over the place. Oof. Okay. A little bit of redness, nothing foundation can't fix. I'm gonna start with, of course, foundation using the foundation brush. Unorganized big mess. Okay, got my mirror. And I'm going to go into the cream foundation I always use, this Kevyn Aucoin Essential Skin Enhancer. I'm going to start distributing it, starting in the center of my face. I have a, well, surprisingly not showing up. I have a big blemish there. I'm going to go in with concealer as well. Start with that, look like a maniac, and then to show you how well this brush blends stuff out, just gonna take it, drag it out, and circle. It's a pretty big brush, super dense too. It's kind of like the Fupas, except for actually this is like the Fupa O2. I actually don't have that brush to compare this with, but this is probably upgraded, luxurious version of that. This one is made of Saikoho hair, which is softer. The Koyudo Fupa, by all means, is already a very soft brush with Hakuhodo Suho hair, but it's still got a thicker body and more spring back than Saikoho will be. Some people report that the Fupas are scratchy, so that's a judgment call. Personally, I don't find them scratchy. They do have a little bit of texture that I can feel when um, when my skin is really dry and sensitive, but it doesn't hurt. However, some people do say that it's intolerable. I'd say that for those people, the this Bisyodo BFS01 would probably be an adequate replacement or dupe because it's very, very soft and super, super dense. Just put a whole bunch there because of that pigmentation that I can see in the mirror here. And then here as well. Cheek is just dark today. Cheek, nose, everything's dark. And then if you don't have problem areas, this brush makes applying foundation super quick. I probably will show you the eye brushes in use a little bit later because there's some spots that I want to adjust a little bit and fix. So foundation done. Um, Large patches, I'm pretty happy with. Now I'm gonna take this Urban Decay Detailed Smudger E212. I think I forgot to introduce it in the beginning. This detailed smudger is supposed to be an eye brush. I don't use it for eyes, however, because um, it's very scratchy and coarse. However, it does make a good pinpoint or detail concealer brush. There's one here. There's one here. Just tap it all around in a circle to blend stuff. A spot there. And because what I'm using as my concealer is the same color as my foundation, this will blend in with no problems. And take it now, close to the eye, right up to the edge of where my eyeshadow is. Cover those dark circles. Clean it up a bit more. So I said it's uncomfortable around the eyes. What I meant by that is it's uncomfortable on the waterline and lash line. On the skin underneath, it's fine. We blend it in right up to the edge. I'm using it pushed in like this rather than dragging motions like that. Okay. Because it's such a strong look, I'm gonna use a pink blush. I'm gonna set my foundation with the Ambient lighting powder in Ethereal Light. I know it's not a setting powder, but for me, it's a setting powder because it takes down shine. Oh, my bad. This is the Hakuhodo J4001 Dual Fiber Powder Brush. Brilliant for bronzer. And brilliant for finishing and any setting powder. As far as setting goes, I'm not really setting. I'm just reducing the tackiness. So any powder products I put on top of it will blend easily. And I'm using all powder face color products today. The only downside I would say of this brush is it doesn't have a reservoir that holds very much product, so you have to keep going into the pan. It's not a huge issue. And because of that dual fiber sparseness, it makes a great bronzer brush. Good luck overdoing it with this brush. It's gonna take a lot of talent to do that. Okay. And everything is nice and smooth, no draggy parts. And then you can definitely tell if there's any tackiness with this because the synthetic will grab onto any moisture parts, any parts of moisture and create drag. Okay. Gonna go in with a contour brush. This is the Stillazzi L308 contour. This is made of dyed goat hair. My bad. This was made of synthetic hair and some kind of goat hair. It doesn't touch your skin, so I don't think it matters. This contour brush is pretty dense at the base, but nice and fluffy at the top without too much movement. So it still has good control. Picked this up from, I think, an IMATS at the Friends Beauty a couple years ago. I'm happy to see it still around. They've discontinued some brushes I picked up since then, which I was really sad about. I'm gonna just take this, push it into my cheek, pushing up, blending. Really getting it in there. And this part is going to look more carved and darker because of the lighting coming in from this direction. So I'm not going to worry too much about that. Going to take a little bit, dab it around the temple so it looks almost like an extension of the eye. So it looks like it's going like whew. Of course, under the chin because I need that extra help with definition. Actually looks pretty good here until I go like that. And then this part behind my, just underneath my ear, behind my jaw is always more pale. So I always throw some there. A brush that I showed in the first video, which I hope I can get back up, is this brush. This is the Kevyn Aucoin base slash shadow brush. This is dyed goat hair. As you can see, it's tapered on all edges, so it's brilliant. One moment. Sorry about that. So this one is good for contouring the nose here. And it's actually also good for contouring the face. I've definitely used it for this before. So if I want to strengthen my contour, see there? And then contouring the nose. Start inside there. Take it down. I'm going to do the other side. Start there. Take it down. I guess it was for the best that the eye video and the face video are split in two because I spent a lot of time doing my eyes. I haven't done a smoky eye in a while, and especially not with blue eyeshadow, so it was a lot of futzing around and trying to figure out stuff at the same time. So it was probably a waste of time to watch if you weren't interested in the eye brushes. Nose. A little bit more down here. Okay. This is really good for carving. So if you were to ask what my favorite contour brush is, it'd probably be the Kevyn Aucoin base and shadow brush over the Stillazzi one, but I still like using the Stillazzi one because it's just a very nice brush. It applies well, it blends well. It's just that this one does it better. But anyhow, you can see that they're kind of like the same thing. They're rounded on all edges, and they're quite dense to give it that nice spring. So that's that. And then now this is the Hakuhodo J110 brush. S. This is the S110 brush. I was thinking of the J one because I usually recommend the J because it's a nice basic blush brush, and the S version is clearly going to be less expensive. This one has a gold plated ferrule that's been clear coated to prevent it from getting scratched off, and vermilion lacquer, and the Hakuhodo crest. So that's the S series. I don't think I've actually introduced it or gone over the specifications before, but now you know. Okay. I'm going to be taking this pink blush. This is Hussy by Ilamasca. It's quite pigmented. So what I'm going to do instead of going straight in is I'm going to take the Ambient lighting powder, and this is a this is a trick you can use for any super pigmented blush you may have. I'm gonna go in, back in, and then back in. Gonna kind of dilute it with the clear powder. So because most of the bristles are and cuticles of the brush are already coated with the ambient powder, it picks up a lot less of the pink. And because I use the ambient powder to set my foundation in the first place, pretty much like dissolves like, super easy. This is, I would consider this a very medium sized blush brush, if not a tad bit on the large side. Because as you can see, if I press down, it covers most of my cheek. So if you have very small cheeks, I might recommend you get another brush, or you be very careful of the application and use the tip more than the side. So this can be used with patting motions like this, or with sweeping motions and circular buffing. Very nice brush to have for sure. And then another thing you can do with this brush is also apply bronzer because it does have that nice big spread. So with bronzer, because this is more on the dense side, I would put into a clear or a setting powder first, then go into your bronzer, and then go all over your face. Okay. Then just using whatever is left on the brush to color in the rest of my face. Give it a little more harmonious color. I never realized how fast doing face makeup was. So I'm going on top of that with a bronzer first. Highlight is going to be my last step. So this is the Koyudo BP002. It's got a little bit of a weird shape to it because of the way I was storing it, but it doesn't matter when it comes to application. Very luxurious powder brush. This is technically a finishing brush, but I'm going to use it with bronzer because I can. So using my trusty Bare Minerals bronzer, which I know works for me. I'm going to use this warmer color. No, actually, I'm going to use this cooler color over here because eyes are cool. Shroop, shroop. We start on the face, forehead, down the nose. And then with this, just take it across here first. And then I'm going to come down. I'm going to leave this light part. I'm going to make this part darker. So then that dark light, darker, makes the cheekbones look even more prominent. And I'm going to stop here. Like that. And the same thing over here. Dark, leave that part light, make this dark. And then I stop here. Because I still want this part of my face to be light. Why I apply bronzer to the middle of my face is because the contour here makes it dark, so what the bronzer does is makes it a little more seamless. Okay, that's the bronzer. And of course, this can be used with finishing powder like the Guerlain Meteorites. I have the pressed version. This works well picking up the pressed version, and I'm sure it'd work well picking up the loose version as well. I have a version of the loose ones, but they're a little more glittery, so I don't use them very often. They're more just to look at because they're pretty and they make me happy. I'm gonna go into this highlight in the Kevyn Aucoin Travel Duo or Mini Duo. It's just the contour duo with the Nars Small Face Brightener. Very aptly named because I'm about to use it to brighten areas of my face. And then this is a very soft goat hair. I believe it's Psychoho, but I can't be sure. Gonna take it down, round onto the apple of my cheek a little bit. Now you can see the difference. And it applies it very strongly. So this is more of a area highlight, an area highlight brush rather than a precision highlight brush. I can use it with enough preciseness on my nose, but it takes a very light hand. Overall, I think this is good for brightening under the eyes and also for setting target powder over the face. A little more there. And something I like about these brushes is they have a nice flat base, so they can just stand. Oh, you can't see that. They can stand. And I don't know, that's not just always nice than the flat brushes which have a little bit of a roundness so they don't stand. But the thing that bugs me about the Nars brushes is they don't have any sort of label on what it is except the name. I mean, the Koyudo BP brushes don't have it. Actually, most of the Koyudo brushes, none of them have labels either, and that really drives me nuts. Because it's hard to tell you which brush I'm using. I have to look it up first before I can tell you, unless it's like one of my absolute favorite brushes. So, going over the face brushes I use in order again. This was the foundation brush, the Bisyodo BFS01. It's got a African rosewood handle, gold-plated ferrule with a clear coat, and then Psychoho that's super densely packed. And this essentially acts like a beauty blender. Every single surface is rounded. You'll see this shape and think of the Koyudo Fupa O2. I personally don't have that brush to compare it to, but I imagine this one would be softer because it's Psychoho rather than Goat Otosuho, which is always going to be a thicker hair. And then, as I mentioned when I was applying my foundation, some people find the fupas to be a little bit scratchy. So after my foundation, I used this Urban Decay Detail Smudger E212. It's a round brush. I don't use it for smudging around my eyes because my waterline and lash line cannot take it. Instead, I was using it for bringing concealer right up to the edge, blending it in, and then pinpoint concealing around my face. And then contour, I used a combination of this brush, the Stillazzi Contour L308 dyed goat hair. pretty small, rounded on all surfaces, so it blends like a dream. The other brush I was using for contouring is the Kevyn Aucoin base slash shadow. This brush is also dyed goat hair and also rounded and quite dense. This one I was using to contour my nose and adding just a little bit more to my cheeks and then sharpening the jawline. So as a combination, these two are great. If I had to pick one, I'd definitely go for the Kevyn Aucoin. The Stillazzi though is a great deal. It's something like $12 if it still is that price. Anyways, I picked it up at a beauty expo and it was less than that, and I couldn't resist. So, oh, sorry. After foundation and concealer, I set my foundation with this Hakuhodo J4001 dual fiber synthetic and goat powder brush. And I was saying, this is ideal for setting powder because if there's any sort of tackiness or moisture from your base, the synthetic will really grab onto it and tell you and kind of stop you and go, oh, this part's still wet, and then go over that part with a little more powder. It's also great for bronzer because of that looseness. You'll never over apply bronzer. And then, so I just went from contour to setting. Where's my blush brush? There you are. Okay. And then blush brush I used was the Hakuhodo 110. This is the SJ110 as they're calling it now. S is for the vermilion handle, gold plated ferrule. And then the J110 is silver ferrule with a black wooden handle that's rounded to a taper. This is a medium large blush brush, as I was saying. Great for blush. You can either use it on the tip for a little more precision or use it on the side. Patting, sweeping, it all works. If you want to use it for bronzer because it has a nice big spread, if you really press it, you'll want to dilute your bronzer powder with a setting powder first before you drag it all over and apply bronzer. Or if you apply bronzer in an area effect to shade your face, this brush would work well for it too. If you have a very petite face, I would recommend a smaller brush or a smaller brush for blush. There we go. Tongue twister. This is the Nars Small Face Brightener. This would be a good small blush brush, but I was using it today for area highlight. So as you can see, it's all bright through here, and I took it a little bit down through here. So when I smile, it pops. And has a fine enough tip that if you use barely any pressure, you can just get it in a fine line down the nose. Good brush, very soft. Some kind of goat, very soft goat. Probably Psychoho. They don't specify. And that one is exclusive to the NARS website, so if you've never seen it before, that's probably why. This is the Koyudo BP002. It's a finishing brush. Ignore the weird shape, that's because of how I was storing it stacked on top of other brushes with other brushes stacked on it, but it really doesn't affect how product applies. So what I did was I put in bronzer and it just swept it all over my face because it's a little pale here. So that's what this brush was for. Of course, with any finishing powder you have, this one is fantastic. If you want to bronze up your neck, huge effective area, very quick to get it. And that's all the face brushes. As for eye brushes, I covered them in a video that YouTube got very mad at me for some reason. I don't know if it was somebody who flagged it or YouTube's algorithm flagged it, but hopefully I can get that back up. If not, I'll just show you the eye brushes and what I did with them. This is, so if you've already watched that, feel free to skip this. This is the Surratt large artistic eye brush. Okay, let me get that again. The Surratt artistic smoky eye brush grande large. This is Gray Squirrel. It's got a nice flame point to it. Quite springy, surprisingly, except for at the tip, but that's to be expected. This one is great because it fits in. You could use it for contouring your nose, you could use it for contouring your cheek, definitely for the outer corners of the eyes, and then just like that. Pretend this is on my eye. I don't want to go over it and ruin it right now. But you can just load up a little bit of dark product on the tip, and then lighter medium tone product here. Just drag it across the eye with that tip in your socket and really carve it out. That's not what I used it for today. Today I used it as an eye base brush because I did my eyes right after skincare. So my skin was a little bit tacky. So I used this in this powder and then just went over it to kind of dry the area up so I could go over it with eyeshadow and the eyeshadow wouldn't stick when I tried to blend it. So this was used as an eye base brush today, but it can be used as so much more because I love using large eye brushes like this as face brushes. So maybe in another video I'll show you how I use this as a face brush. As an eye brush too because it has a lot of uses that you'd not think of at first. Definitely a brush that you look at it, you go, what? Why? And then you play with it, you go, oh, okay. The more things you try with it, the more you like it. And then the other Surratt brush I used was the Surratt Classic Eye Brush. This is in Moyenne Medium. This is Canadian Squirrel hair. You kind of can't tell with the Canadian Squirrel pattern because it's covered in eyeshadow right now. This is one of the most versatile brushes I have the pleasure of using. It's nice and springy and has that very fine taper tip. So I can use this along the lash line, and I definitely use it to apply um, lid color. Use it to shade out the outer corner. And then if I turn it like this and I run it back and forth, it will blend. Um, okay, rather it will unify the mid-tone crease color and the lid color. So you can't tell now, but I had a brown all the way up to here, and it was running this brush back and forth that really blended the blue and the brown together. So highly recommend this brush. Bit pricey, but very nice. The other brush I use to really get this effect out here is this large brush. What I did was just run it like that, back and forth, and also use it almost like I was shading out. This is the large Saikoho eye brush with cherry birch handle by Koyudo. I can't remember what I've already said and what I've not, but that's one of my favorites. This is the medium version of that. So once again, we'll line those up here and here. This is more useful, but it's a tad bit large and not tapered enough. I prefer a combination of using the small brush and the large brush, like these two. Because this one gets area, this one gets detail. This one's everything else in between, but in this eye look, I use these three brushes the most. The small cherry birch, the Surratt medium, and the Koyudo cherry birch large. And then the last brush I have is the Tamiya brush, the Koyudo BP039. As you can see, nice taper tip. I'm actually going to use it right now to apply a little bit more of that light color to the inner corners of my eye. This one's also great for work along the lash line because it's not as delicate as Squirrel is. It can be used for smudging pencil, but that's not what I used it for today. Today I just used it for inner corner highlight and blending into the rest of the eye. Lighten this up a bit. Can definitely use more light. Kind of like UCSD colors or any of the UC colors. They're all some sort of combination of gold, yellow, and blue. Okay, there we go. And other than mascara, that is all the brushes and the look. Might as well apply. And in case you didn't catch it, I forget how many times I repeat myself. The video where I with all the eye brushes got flagged for being inappropriate for some reason, even though I clearly said it was not for adults. Something about third party copyright infringement, even though I have no music going on. Maybe it was the lawnmower. Maybe the lawnmower sounded a bit too much like Bach or something. Just using a sample size of the Too Faced. Is Too Faced? Yeah. Damn Girl mascara. I've really been liking the volume it gets me. The big brush, I'm not so much a fan of, but I make it work. And because it's so smoky, anyways, if I get some mascara on my lid, no one's going to be able to tell. Unless they get uncomfortably close, anyways. Benefits of not having an HD camera. You can't see mistakes if I make any. Not that I make mistakes. I'm perfect, right? No. That's why I have a Q-tip always. Always look down to apply my mascara. I don't think I've ever explained why I do that. But find it helps me get very little product on my lid, and I can see the transformation in thickness more prominently if I'm looking down. Okay. And quite pleased with how it turned out. I haven't worn a smoky eye like this, or blue eyeshadow in that matter, for little for close to a year now. So I'm pretty pleased with how it turned out. Could definitely be a little better blended, but hey, good enough. I'll improve. All right. I hope you enjoyed watching and learned about the brushes that you were interested in or got an idea of how to use them. And I'll see you next time, whenever that is. Bye.